Ladies and gentlemen, you are requested to please be seated. We are about to start our next presentations. Our next speaker is Mr. Adnan Mufti. His presentation will be on sales tax, value-added tax. Mr. Adnan Mufti is a partner in Sheikha and Mufti. He is a fellow member of the Institute and a member of SRC of the Institute. He has around 10 years of experience in the field of handling issues relating to sales tax, federal excise, customs, etc. He is also a member of ADRC and serving various committees of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan and IT Bar Association. He is also a frequent speaker of seminars and conferences at various forums. He has also written articles on indirect taxes in the leading newspapers and professional journals. Would you please welcome Mr. Adnan Mufti? His presentation will be in two parts. One is before Maghrib prayers and second part will be after Maghrib prayers. We'll have a break around 7 for Maghrib prayers. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Session Chairman Mr. Asrar Rauf, Member for the Board of Revenue, learned speakers, past presidents, presidents of the Tax Bar Association, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. My presentation will not cover the macro aspect because I understand they have been catered by Mr. Saqib Shirani, and I believe Mr. Asrar Rauf is also going to dilate upon the policy matters of the indirect tax, especially VAT. My presentation next is basically comprising of various micro provisions regarding sales tax, the excise duty, and primarily these proposals are on the assumption that sales tax would not be repealed, because if it is going to be repealed as planned from 1st of July 2010, then there would be entirely a different law which will all be covered in the third part of my presentation. These are the various areas regarding the sales tax, followed by excise duty next, and lastly the draft value-added tax. And of course this is when we talk of the value-added tax, it is the federal value-added tax, because the fate of the provincial VAT is not known and is somewhat incomplete as well, the draft that has been presented to the Parliament. So we'll start with the toll manufacturing. Previously, the supply, that is a very focal area in the sales tax law, section 233, included toll manufacturing as part of supply, and thereby there was a term called other disposition, which was later on spelled in detail by the Federal Board of Revenue in the Journal Order 2004, whereby the CBR had held that toll manufacturing, it basically the other disposition covers the toll manufacturing area, whereby the goods are, after processing, are transferred back to the principal and by the contractor. This term has been done away with in the present definition of supply. So it appears that toll manufacturing area is now out of the tax net. So we had previously, in the previous year, the institute had also forwarded this proposal that the due amendment may be made in the general order, either by repealing the relevant part thereof to dispel all the confusions that may be or could be in place, or if it is not the intention of the legislature, then proper definition covering the toll manufacturing area should be brought back in the definition of supply. Next. These are the various areas that are not spelled out clearly in the sales tax law, and especially in case of section 73. There is no provision to cater instances where payments are knocked off through contra book entries. The law does not accommodate situations where payments are doubtful. I understand that in the federal law, federal VAT, the provision is there, but there is a question mark, and we'll discuss it later on. And the law does not take into account transactions where payments are made by creditors, guarantors or third party on behalf of the buyer. What we understand from the basic intent that 73 was inserted in the statute book in 1999 with the ruling or the briefing that came out from the Federal Board of Revenue was to document the economy and to keep track of the transaction from the both ends. And it underwent many amendments from time to time, and at one point of time it was suspended, the operation was suspended as well. So, but this objective can be achieved by putting in place certain other measures and by putting in place other restrictions. Therefore, the institute is of the view that the provision of section 73 may be amended to cater the issue of bad debts and to provide the contra transactions in the books of the supplier. Next. It is a major concern these days, tax fraud. It's a very serious problem at the moment. The law says there are several ingredients of the definition. One says that supply of if the supplier, the seller, businessman is not registered, and if he is selling goods, then that without getting registration under the net tantamount to a tax fraud on the part of the seller. The problem that we face is that whenever you file your application for registration, it takes a lot of time, especially when the situation has been moved to the central registration office in Islamabad. So it takes time, it takes delays, then there are queries, there are counter queries, submissions, etc., etc. So this makes the businessman in a problem, in a hassle, because if he stops his business, then he is at loss, and otherwise he would be exposed to a tax fraud that is the most serious offense under the law and cognizable under section 33. So what we propose is that it would be business friendly to encourage the new entity to start the commercial activity immediately by issuing a provisional registration number, and of course to keep a check on his activities or the potential loss that might accrue to the department. There could be a situation of submission of bank guarantee of the adequate amount that can be put in place under the rules. Accordingly, necessary modifications may also be brought in the definition of tax fraud. Next. Another very important provision which is missing in the law is wastage. Businesses के अंदर visible non-visible wastage का element बरकरार रहता है. When we look this aspect from the accounting point of view, it is almost incorporated and clubbed under the consumption area. तो ऑडिट अकाउंट्स में या आपको मैनेजमेंट अकाउंट्स में देखें, उसमें वेस्टेज को सेपरेटली क्लासिफाई नहीं किया जाता, एंड दिस इज द बिगेस्ट एरिया जिसके ऊपर जो है वो डिमांड्स क्रिएट की जाती हैं. विद जब भी स्टॉक में डिफरेंस आएगा जो बुक्स में, और द डिफरेंशियल इज ट्रीटेड as presumed sale, and accordingly a demand is created. So what we recommend is that to issue this area industrial notes. एक ज़माना था industrial notes develop होते थे जिसमें business processes और उसकी relevant specifications हर business के, खास तौर पर टेक्सटाइल में बहुत अरसे तक रहा ये, वो develop होते थे. This process is required to be, you see, reinvented again, and industrial notes in consultation with the trade industry and of course the tax fraternity, जिन लोगों को ये face करना होता है before the courts and the authorities, that should be framed. और उसमें we propose that significant wastages, the ratios, they must be spelled out so that litigation or confusion and queries on this particular account, which is bothering the taxpayers a lot, should be eliminated at all. Next. Input tax credit. Before 2008, the taxpayer was entitled to claim prior 12 months input taxes. This was curtailed to 6 months in 2008. What resulted is that the prior 6 months inputs, they were applied under section 66 as refund, and